Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to unpack a really pivotal and, honestly, tragic story. How the vast but crumbling Ottoman Empire got pulled into the Great War.
So by the early 20th century, the great powers of Europe, they had this pretty grim nickname for the Ottoman Empire. They called it the sick man of Europe. I mean, for centuries, this empire had been a total titan, right? But now it was seen as weak, technologically backward, and basically on the verge of complete collapse.
So how on earth did this dying empire get dragged into a world war that would, in the end, completely destroy it? Well, the answer, it's a really complex story of desperation, some profound misunderstandings, and a whole series of just catastrophic miscalculations on all sides. Okay, let's dive right in.
All right, to really get why they'd make such a risky, high-stakes gamble, we first have to understand just how desperate things had gotten for the empire by 1914. The situation was dire. And the decline? It was shockingly fast. I mean, in just a few short years, the empire was literally disintegrating. You had Austria-Hungary annexing Bosnia, Italy grabbing Libya, even Albania declared independence. It felt like everyone was just chipping away at their territory. You can just imagine the sense of crisis in the capital, Istanbul. It must have been absolutely palpable.
Get this, 200. That was the total number of cars in the entire Ottoman Empire in 1914. Just let that sink in for a second. At the exact same time, the United States had over 1 million. I mean, come on. This single number, it's such a stark symbol of just how far the empire had fallen behind its industrialized European rivals.
Okay, so internally, you've got this group of nationalist military officers, right? They're called the Young Turks, and they've just seized power. And they were deeply humiliated by this European dominance. I mean, think about it. They couldn't even control their own treasury. They couldn't police their own cities or govern their own people without some European power sticking its nose in. For them, survival meant one thing: breaking free.
The Young Turks, they knew they were vulnerable. They knew it. Their only hope, as they saw it, was to find a powerful European ally, a protector, really, to guarantee their survival against all the other vultures circling. So, yeah, they went shopping for an ally.
And what happened? Well, they basically went door to door, asking all the great powers for a defensive alliance. And you know what? They were turned away every single time. Britain said no, France said no, even their old enemy Russia obviously said no. This left the empire just dangerously isolated as the whole world was inching closer and closer to a massive war. But then, everything changed. As Austria-Hungary's ultimatum to Serbia basically set all of Europe on fire in August 1914, Germany suddenly started to reconsider its position on the Ottomans.
So a secret treaty gets hastily signed on August 1st, 1914. But let's be clear, this was a fragile alliance. It was born out of pure mutual desperation, not trust. Germany just needed a distraction to tie up Russia. And the Ottomans, they needed a bodyguard. Simple as that. Neither side really trusted the other's motives or what they could actually do on the battlefield.
So what followed next was just this tragic cascade of blunders, provocations, and really profound misunderstandings, from all sides, mind you, that made a catastrophic war pretty much inevitable.
This quote, it just perfectly captures the British attitude at the time. You had officials like Lord Kitchener, the Secretary of War, who were operating with this, frankly, this arrogant ignorance of the Middle East. They thought they were the experts, but their understanding of the region was just dangerously flawed. I mean, look at this. British officials in London and Cairo were being fed completely false intelligence, and they were operating on these really prejudiced assumptions. They totally misread the political forces that were driving the Ottoman government. They actually believed this wild conspiracy theory instead of what was really happening, which was just a simple case of Turkish nationalism.
And this failure to understand the region, it was even more profound when it came to the Arab world. The British just assumed that Arabs would welcome them with open arms, as liberators from Turkish rule. But they missed a crucial point. For most Muslims in the empire, their loyalty to the Islamic Caliphate, to the Sultan as the leader of all Muslims, that far outweighed any dislike they might have had for the government back in Istanbul.
So this is the point of no return, the final push into war. It wasn't a government decision at all. It was a conspiracy. You had this small pro-war faction led by the really ambitious war minister Enver Pasha. He secretly ordered an attack on Russia and then, get this, he sabotaged his own government's attempts to make peace. He single-handedly dragged the unwilling empire into a global conflict.
So the Ottoman gamble, which was really just orchestrated by a handful of men, had failed spectacularly. And the consequences, wow. They wouldn't just destroy an empire, they would literally redraw the map of the modern world as we know it.
And here's the big takeaway from all this. The entire geopolitical landscape of the Middle East that we know today, I'm talking its borders, its conflicts, its political structures, all of it was born directly from the ashes of this one single catastrophic decision to enter the war.
And that leaves us with a huge question, one that historians still debate to this day. Was the Ottoman Empire doomed no matter what? Or could a different choice, a different roll of the dice back in 1914, have led to a completely different world? It really makes you wonder, what might have been?